Hi, welcome to Messy Imperfect Life with Leigh. I'm so excited today because I have she's an entrepreneur, a fashionista. She has her MBA. But what I like most about her is that she celebrates wherever the heck she is in her life. It's like that's exactly where she should be. And I love it and it's refreshing. And I would like to welcome Susan Feldman.
Hi.
Welcome, sweetheart.
Thank,
Hi.
thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. It's been so long.
It's been so long, and I love how I'm not exactly sure exactly how we met the very first time. Do you know?
Yes, I do know. You came to my house for a focus group with our friend Jill.
Oh, that's it. I was like, I knew I was in your house, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, who
Mhm.
are these magnificent women?
Yeah.
And it was so interesting, Susan, because I was kind of living for a long time as someone's wife,
hmm hmm
as David's wife and a mother of five and all of that. But I knew I had so much in me, right? But I hadn't
Right.
fully owned or honed it in yet.
hmm
And I got invited to your house and I was like, oh, this is what it looks like where I'm going.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I remember so many of the things that we talked about, and I was so actually taken with your honesty that night. Like you were really open and shared a lot of things with, everybody in the room. And I was like, wow, this is really impressive. Like I didn't know what was going to happen. It was a group of women that showed up at my home for a focus group that I did before I launched Get in the Groove. And everybody just came they came they came to the party and really shared their feelings about kind of where they were in their lives and what they wanted and what was missing, and it was great. It was a really really powerful evening.
It was such a powerful evening. I'm so glad that you saw me because
Yeah.
I have this energy where I get overexcited about things.
Yeah.
You're right. And I've learned to hone it even more so since I've been at your home. But it just really, I was just so honored to be a part of that night into your beautiful home and the spread and dinner and like everything was so kind of sexy and it was kind of like casual fun, but it was also really there was a lot of thought and love in everything, which I thought
Totally.
was super cool.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So a few things that I was checking out today. Last time I did my podcast last season, I would just find out about the person with everyone else.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, maybe I should look up a little bit. And so what I was telling you right before we started is that you're a squeaky clean gal. When I looked you up, normally you can find something like maybe there was like some lawsuit somewhere or there was something that was, just something rumbling. And I was just like, no, it was this precious woman. One thing I did learn about you is that you went through a divorce
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
And tell me a tiny bit about that because that's something that I just learned.
Sure. So let's see. I got married. I was married when I was 29. I think I was at that point and getting a lot of pressure um, I was getting old. So
Right?
ridiculous.
And that's so silly.
So ridiculous. Anyway, so I married this man. I have two amazing children from that marriage. But when I turned 40, I realized that this was not really working for me. I think when we got married, I just thought I can make anything work. I will make this work, I'll figure it out. That's kind of
Yeah.
was how I did everything else. And 11 years into it, when and I turned 40, I'm like, I don't think I can live the rest of my life like this. I'm just not happy. I think I would rather be by myself and living my life than to be in a relationship. And I think, for myself, I think for my girls, I just think on so many different levels, it felt like the right thing to do.
Mm.
And it's interesting because I don't know how you went through this, but in my mind, I played out how it was going to happen. Like this is what's going to happen, gonna tell him I don't want to be married anymore, and then blah 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 blah. And of course, it was nothing like.
Of
So
course not.
it was a pretty painful process getting divorced or unmarried or whatever. But once I got onto the other side of it, it was amazing. It was really incredible. And, I was really fortunate. I don't know, somewhere in my mind, I thought, I'm just happy and I'm going to do what I, need to do to take care of my girls and work and stuff. And in my head, I'm like, I think when I'm like around 60, I'll probably meet somebody. I'll meet the love of my life, then. But I was really fortunate. And, 5 years later, when I was 45, I met Bob and he is the love of my
Mm.
life. So
Mm.
I was really, I think, a fortunate, I was really fortunate for sure.
I I have to say before we jump to Bob that I just want to acknowledge you for kind of waking up at 40. And
Mm,
I love that you said I'm going to make it work. It wasn't like you're like this sucks, I'm out,
right.
at
Yeah.
32.
Yeah. No, we were
But
married 11 years.
yeah, that's a long time. And what I hear is that you were working on trying to make it, right? Because we
Yeah.
think that we're supposed to stay with the person and I'm married and what can I do to make it better? And it really is, it's so beautiful because it is that realization of I have tried it. This isn't the right fit. I
Right.
could stay in and be miserable forever and model that for my children.
Yeah.
Or I could really listen to what my heart's saying, that it's this and it.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's amazing that you acted on it. And it's a big deal to go out on your own with two kids, right? To be single.
Yes. Very big deal. And
Wow.
I mean, and full transparency, I think there were a lot of things that came together at one time that made it possible. I always have worked and I was at a point in my career where I was actually doing very well. So I felt,
That's fantastic.
financially that was, I know that's a big factor, of course, that I
Huge.
could, I could do it. I could make it happen. I would be okay,
Yeah, you
whereas,
had that. A lot of women who get divorced, especially like me, after being home 21 years with the kids, while I
Mhm.
supported him in blooming his career, and then going, oh, oh, it's my time now. Luckily, I had created a lot of content just out of the goodness of my heart and connecting with people that I can use now, right, to turn
Right.
into something. So
Sure.
so it's really interesting that I think so often moms jump off of their path to focus only on their kids, right? And then it leaves you in this kind of conundrum
Mhm.
when divorce happens. But what's so cool is that you were constantly doing you.
Yeah. No, listen, it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard trigger to pull for sure. I mean, I was interested. I think out of my group of friends, I was the first person to get divorced. And I can remember that summer, like, I was living in Manhattan, going out to the Hamptons, and people like whispering in my ear, like, you go, girl. Like,
Oh, I love that. I thought
like,
you were going to say they're whispering like she's getting a divorce. They were like,
no,
no,
they were like
do
so
it.
like that. I just got this feeling there were a lot of unhappy women out there, but for whatever
Mm.
reason, they weren't able to make that move. And so they're like, that's fantastic what you're doing. You go, girl. Like,
Oh, I love
we're
that.
rooting for you. And I remember thinking, wow, because you always feel like you're by yourself, right?
Yeah.
When you're in tough times like that.
That
So,
is when we kind of retreat, right? Like when
yeah,
mine was kind of dissolving, I was just in hell. I was trying to honor him because he's a public figure and I didn't want
sure.
to tell anyone. And I was literally in hell by myself. And I'll have to say, that is I
It's
think, the
hard.
worst part of it
Yeah.
is that feeling alone and you're in hell.
Totally. I agree.
But of
Not
course,
easy.
yeah, it's not easy. And I learned that that's not really true, right? That's just a thought I created. There's actually
Totally.
people
Yeah.
waiting if I reach out, which
People
I
would be
love
there for you.
100%.
Yeah, totally.
So then you said that you rolled into how old were you when you met the love of your life, Bob?
45.
So
So
you
five
had
years
just
later.
5 years.
Hmm.
You were thinking it was going to be 20 and boom,
And
he walked in
I wasn't
5.
worried about it. You know what I mean? It was like
Yeah.
I just had too much on my plate anyway, and I would be amazing to meet somebody, and I was dating and doing all kinds of things, but my kids were really my priority, in those
Yeah.
5 years, and just trying to find me and be happy and all that kind of stuff. So I just I I felt somewhere in my heart that I would meet the love of my life. I don't know why I thought it was going to be later. So I was lucky because it happened pretty fast.
And I love so much how you just said that you just wanted to do your kids and you.
Mm,
And that's literally where I am right now. Is after I broke off with my husband, I started dating a guy for 2 years,
mm.
and it just kept me in this cycle of
So, yeah.
kind of chaotic,
Yeah.
like, wait, I can't do me because I have to do him on my off time and try and do my work and and then all of a sudden it was like, I just had this download. I mean, I felt it just from God going, stop, do all the things you want to do, write your book. No more men, no more dating, no more, just write
Hmm.
your book. So
Hmm.
right now I'm doing that
Mm.
and some other really cool business stuff. And it feels so good not to have to rush home or be late for something, or I can just come home and be with my kids and do what I want to do. And I'll have to tell you, it's this whole new freedom for me
Mm. Yeah, and
with,
when it's right, it's right. It will happen. You know what I mean?
yes. And that's another thing is that I have the same feeling. I know that God has the guy out there for me, but I'm
Yeah.
to do myself right now fully
Yeah,
so I can meet kind of a full, cool guy
exactly.
to play
Exactly.
with.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you meet Bob?
I met, we had the funniest courtship, but it was a blind date. Um, I had somebody I was friendly with worked in the same company as Bob, and this guy David, who was our mutual acquaintance, was going through a really bad divorce, and he was really suffering. And somebody asked Bob if he would take him to lunch to kind of cheer him up and tell him it's not so bad, because Bob was also, getting divorced and didn't seem to be having a problem with it. Um, so, he took David out, cheered him up. And at the end of lunch, David said, "Hey, I know somebody, if you're, interested, I'm happy to, connect you to." So Bob said, "Sure." Like he was, he had been married for 18 years. So he was really just, and he
What?
was married very young. So I think he just felt like he needed to, date. He really hadn't dated as a young adult. And so he's like, "Sure, I'll go out with her." Anyway, we went out for once a month for like 6 months. So it's just,
Oh,
and it was just funny. Like there were just funny things about it. Like we lived in Manhattan. We both lived in Manhattan, but we both drove cars in Manhattan, which is a whole other story. Like nobody
yeah.
drives cars in
No.
Manhattan, but we did. So when we'd meet for dinner, after dinner, it was, "Oh, that was fun. Let's do it again." Okay, great. And then I'd get in my car and he'd get in his car, drive. And then finally, I think it was after our fifth date, I was on a business trip and there was a knock on the door and there was this guy standing there with a big arrangements of flowers. And I'm like, "Oh, you have the wrong room."
Oh, I love it.
He goes, "No, no, they're for you." And I said, "I don't think so. You should, double check." His, "Please, could I bring them in? They're for you." And they were from Bob. And I was like, "Oh my God, I think he likes me."
Oh, that's so
This
sweet.
was like 5 months later, because we'd only gone out for dinner like 5 times over this 5 month period. I wasn't even sure, like, if, I
Where you fit
like,
in.
yeah, I wasn't sure. Do I like commit to putting his number in my address book? Like, it was like a funny kind of thing.
That's
And then on our sixth date, we actually went to the movies. We went out for dinner. And then the next night, he made dinner for me. And then that was it. It was like we kissed that night,
oh,
and it was, a wild and crazy romance for the next year and a half till we got married.
you just kissed?
Just kissed.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
See, it's like when I looked you up, everything's pretty squeaky clean. I love that so much. So why was it just once a month?
Because I think we both were really busy
Busy.
traveling for work. And, Bob was dating a lot of other people, to be honest.
Oh, that's so he's a good-looking guy.
Yeah. So I don't know. We both were really busy. Like,
Yeah.
we were both flying all over. As a matter of fact, it wasn't long after we connected and we were like, it was like that whirlwind kind of part of a relationship. So that was, I guess that was in September, I think. Anyway, his birthday's in October, and I was on a business trip in LA because I was living in New York. I flew to Paris to like meet him for his birthday. Yeah.
Oh.
And we had this like amazing romantic weekend in Paris. He was there on business. And it's so sweet because we went to the same hotel for our 10th anniversary, and we're going back this year for our 20th anniversary in
Oh, that's
May.
so
Yeah,
sweet.
and our all our kids are coming too, so it should be really fun.
I, I love that. So, how old are your girls?
So, well, my youngest will be 31 on Sunday, and my and older one, Kim, is 35. She'll be 36 in March.
Wow, they're grown women.
Yeah, yeah. And then my
Are they?
stepson, Steven, is 39. He'll be 40 in March.
Oh my gosh, I just saw this darling picture of you with your with all of you together. You were outside, it was black and white.
Oh, yeah. I don't
And it
know.
was is just Stephen is the name of your stepson.
Uh-huh.
So it was him and his wife and their kid, I believe.
They have
You
two kids
guys, then your
now.
two daughters.
Yeah,
Oh, they have
yeah,
two. It
yeah,
was such
yeah.
a beautiful picture.
Oh, yeah,
I was like,
it's
look.
sweet. We've been able to integrate our families nicely, so that's good.
Yeah, it started in New York, right? You had two separate apartments.
We had, yeah, that exactly. It was funny. We had two separate apartments, and when we decided to, get married, I had a big apartment. We looked around. We were going to buy a new apartment because the apartment I had didn't have a bedroom for Stephen. And so we were trying to find a bigger apartment, which is crazy in New York. So we ended up buying the apartment next to mine and doing like a big gut renovation.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it was funny. There was actually an article in the New York Times about like two families coming together, two apartments. Like it was very
I
cute.
saw it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it's
a
cute
little Brady
story.
Bunch thing going on.
Yeah, it was cute. And then
Um,
and then we sold
yeah.
our apartment 2 weeks later, and moved to California.
Are you after you renovated it?
After that story ran, yeah, it was
That's
funny.
hilarious.
Sort of to your point, you never know what's going to happen, right? And Bob had a really great opportunity, work-wise, that brought us to California.
I'm so happy because then I got to come to your house.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
okay, a thing that I adore about you is that you you kind of have modeled what being an entrepreneur is, especially for women, and how you started your first company. We tell a little bit about that because I think
Sure.
that's right when you moved to LA, right?
It was a couple of years afterwards. Yeah, so I spent the majority of my career in the fashion apparel business, running sales and marketing organizations, like 20 some years doing that. And we moved to California in 2005, and I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. So I was consulting for a fashion company, and I did that for 3 years. And I wasn't really like, it wasn't after 3 years, it was just like, I'm not sure that I want to be doing this anymore. I'd been in the business a long time, like a lot of
Yeah,
businesses we've all experienced, they change over time, of course. And I'm like, I just don't know that this is really, I'm having fun anymore. But in the
yeah,
meantime, I had this idea, um, because we moved to LA, we bought this house. I hadn't lived in a house since I left my parents' home, to go to college. I mean, I lived in apartments, nice apartments, but I hadn't lived in a house with a yard and all that kind of stuff.
right.
And I became completely obsessed with my house. I mean, all I could talk about was decorating and entertaining and having people over. It was like this huge like opportunity to do things that I couldn't really do in Manhattan. And what I was frustrated with was that online shopping back then, so call it 2007, 2008, wasn't great. I mean, there were definitely, you could shop online. There was Amazon, and some of the bigger stores had websites. But if you were looking for a kind of fun, unique things, a lot of people hadn't put their products up online yet. And it was frustrating because I was busy. And, if I had time to go to all the wonderful stores in Los Angeles, it would have been fine, but I didn't.
Right,
I was
right.
frustrated that I couldn't shop online. And so I had this idea to create an online business using the flash sale model, which was very popular back then, focusing on home. And it took me a year really to do it. I talked about it. I talked to people about it. I thought about it. Nobody was in the home space. I kept watching what was happening in the apparel space, but I knew it was a very powerful new channel that was happening. It's basically like flash sales are kind of like sample sales online.
Yeah, I want to jump in and just point this out to the people who are listening or watching. So Susan looked and found a need for herself. Like,
Right.
this is what I want. I can't find it.
Exactly.
And I mean, that's where the genius comes in is you think, oh, I can make a difference in this space so nobody else has to experience that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, necessity is the mother of invention. I mean, that sort of should be like I should have that frame
You
someplace on
should. You
the
should.
wall because
Because you're doing it.
that's kind of
Again.
how I operate. But yeah, so I was creating what I wanted. And actually, it was something that became very valuable as we built the company because everything kept coming back to what do you want, Susan? How do you see this? Because I was the customer, I was really
Yes.
I was the number one customer. But anyway, so a year after thinking about this and marinating on this idea and whatever, I finally, I said to Bob, I just like, I don't think I can do what I've been doing anymore. So either I guess I'll just resign, quit, or I could start this business, but I don't know about this. So he's like, well, what's the worst thing that could happen if you start this company? I'm like, it will fail. He's like, okay, so you can manage that, right? Like how much you put into it, how long it takes, whatever, blah, blah. And then when he put it in that perspective, I'm like, that doesn't even sound so bad. So at least I
Yeah.
know I tried it. Anyway, so I found a business partner, Allie Pincus, and in March 2009, we launched One Kings Lane, which was really the first online home decor site. I mean, we really, not even knowing that we were doing it, we really kind of, democratized home decor by, creating this website and business. I mean, it was really amazing
Wow.
what happened because we were the first to do this. It was something different. It gave people really access to products that they never would have had access to otherwise. And the idea was a good idea, but we executed it really well, which I think was important,
That's
too.
amazing. So tell a tiny bit how you did it because you didn't just go buy a ton of merchandise. How did you
No,
do
no,
it?
no, 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 not at all. It's interesting. Somebody had said to us, so we formed our LLC in November of 2008. So we did everything that we had to do to get this business up and running in less than 6 months, which was just the
Wow.
two of us, which is really kind of amazing because back then there certainly, I sound like I'm a million years old every time I say that, but there just weren't the tools that are available today. Like I could build a website, overnight and have it up and running with the tools that exist today.
Right.
But that it wasn't like that back then. You had to actually find like somebody to build the website. So somebody had said to us that it was really great advice. Like, listen, first to market usually wins, second does well, third, who knows, afterwards. And so nobody was in this space when we, had this idea. I mean, there were other flash sale sites, but they were only doing apparel. So it was
Right.
clear to us that at some point they were going to start to expand categories and somebody would, do this in the home space. So we felt if we could actually get out there, establish our name, our brand, it would be an advantage. So we just tried to figure out how we could do this the fastest way possible. And so we knew we had to build a website. We had to, create a group of people that would be our audience that we would send emails to, because that's what we did. We sent an email every morning at 8 o'clock. We had to find vendors that would work with us.
What'd
And
you say to the vendors?
yeah, I mean, it was not that, nobody wants to be the first, right? So it's like this.
Hi, I really like your couch and I'm starting a new
Well,
company.
no, we didn't do couches at first because we realized, I mean, we wanted to do everything for the home, but we had to start small. So the idea was in the beginning, did only things that we could find at what's called the New York Gift Show. So it's, small decorative objects, you know, napkins, accessories, all kinds of things like that. And I mean, we moved really quickly at bedding,
Yeah.
and we moved really quickly out of that. And we added art, and then we added mirrors, and we added lighting, and then we added
Oh,
rugs.
I
And we
like that
added
you started small and then you decided what the next intro was.
yeah, I mean, we knew the vision was to have everything, but we knew realistically there's no way that we could do everything at once. I mean, we were just
And I love that you just started it.
yeah, I mean, people said just afterwards, how do you do that? And I was like, I don't know how the hell we did that, to tell you the truth. Like, we literally put blinders on. We knew what we had to get done. People, there's naysayers all along the way, of
Oh, yeah.
course, and we're just like, okay, well, forget it. Bye-bye. We just like moved on to the next person that we thought could help us do whatever we were working on. And we made it happen. And the truth is also, we did this. I mean, I don't know if you remember November, December 2009. It was the height of the recession. It was horrible what
Hmm.
was going on. So we did not raise capital. We bootstrapped the business initially. And we were super scrappy, but the fact that the recession was going on created other opportunities in terms of deals we could make,
Mm.
vendors that we were willing to work with us because all of a sudden they had excess inventory that they never had before and they
Wow.
didn't know how to get rid of it. So there are, in tough times, I think there really are often some amazing opportunities if you can identify them.
100%. I
Yeah.
think always.
Anyway, so we launched the business in March 2009. It took off like crazy. And by December, we actually did our first, brought in our first partners, raised money with, a venture capital firm. And then it just continued to grow like crazy. And then in
And
2000,
once you get money from the venture capitalists, then you have the money to buy more inventory and hire more people to help, or what happens?
yeah, well, we actually, the model was inventory less. So it was kind of thing, I always call it
Oh,
like a
that's
new
right.
age consignment model. So we would go to the vendor, we would work with them on what we were going to sell. They'd hold the product for a week because the sales usually lasted 3 days. This is in the beginning. And then they would, ship, or we would ship whatever we sold. So we didn't actually take inventory. So we didn't need money initially to buy inventory,
Mm.
which was kind of
Huge.
the reason that we were able to start the business. But when we did, right, we raised money for a couple of reasons. We knew the business was growing so fast. In order to scale, we kind of felt like it would be helpful to have smart partners, which, they
Hmm.
had scaled businesses, lots of big businesses. And it also gave us additional resource to hire. I mean, we're so under resourced before we did that. Like, I think when we raised that round, the first round, I think there were 8 of us working, in the company, and we were doing well over $1 million a month in sales at that point. So that's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So it gives you the ability to hire people, to start to put infrastructure in.
Mm.
We had outsourced everything prior to, that raise and then subsequent raise. So it gave us the ability to say, okay, now we know this is a real business. We're going to start figuring out how to bring everything back in house, bring in the creative, bring in the web, the
Oh my
engineers, all
gosh.
that kind of stuff.
How good did that feel?
Yeah, it's still, it's not easy, but it was good. It was all good
Well,
stuff.
because when you're doing it and hustling so much on your own to realize, oh, there's people who know a little bit more about this part that I can bring
Totally.
in to help with it.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I mean, I think we each, Allie and I, one of the reasons we worked well together as partners is we really complemented each other skill set. And so, my biggest contribution to our business was not only the vision, but that I was the head merchant. And so it allowed me
Mm.
to really focus on, if we didn't have great product on the site, we weren't going to have a great business. So it gave me the leeway to spend the time that I needed to, building the product and the merchandise that we sold.
And that's huge.
Yeah, it was
Like I've
very,
always, yeah, because it's like if you have your thing you're good at and you're having to do other things, then you're not thriving the business in the way that you can.
right. Exactly, exactly. And prior to, having some additional resources, I mean, I was the head merchant, I was doing the finance, I was doing
Yeah, right.
like we were interviewing, people, we were doing HR things, operations, we
Wow.
were doing a lot of different things.
How big, how long did you have it to build it before you sold it to Bed Bath and Beyond?
We had 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
That's a long run.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, not really, but really, like
Yeah.
some people I know now have a vision of launching and then 3 to 5 years they want to sell.
Well, I
But
think it
but
depends. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it depends what the business, is doing. I mean, I think we probably could have done that too, and that would have been a good outcome as well. But we
You
stuck with
still
it.
had more work to do. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. So
Yeah.
when you sold the business, do you share how much you sold it for to Bed Bath and Beyond or not
No,
really?
it's all, yeah.
Okay. So I know that it was probably a good amount of money, over $10, I'm sure. But did that, when you got that check, was it like, what the, I mean, I know that you've been successful before that, and you were confident in what you're doing. And you actually, if you would brag a tiny bit for me, you got your undergraduate degree at Stanford,
Hmm.
and then you got your MBA
At
from
UCLA.
UCLA.
Yeah.
Dang, I
Yeah.
thought you were just a pretty face.
Yeah. Well, who knew? Yeah. Go figure.
Damn, girl. So how was it to get that check? It's like, look, I mean, something about it is exciting besides money. Something about it is like, oh, this is what I'm worth. That
Yeah.
is,
I,
look what we did.
I think it's more about that, right? It's like I had a vision for something and we did it. We built this great brand and we were disrupted an industry and we did lots of cool things. So um that was really satisfying, but it's exhausted. It's like,
Seriously.
yeah, it's
Did anything change in your life, or did you go get something, or did you take a trip? Like, what, when you got that check, when it was closed, the deal was closed, was there anything you're like, finally, I'm going to go get this, or I'm flying everyone to this place, or
yeah.
no, because you were already, there's some people who are already kind of successful, right? So it is a whole new echelon of money, but they're already kind of in that world. And then there's some
Yeah,
people who are like,
I don't, it's kind of funny. I actually I, no, we didn't really do anything like that. And I think it was more about like, what am I going to do now? What's next?
I love that. And I love, with so many women, people have great ideas every day, right? It's
Mm,
only the people who act on them, who
mm.
see it through, get to really enjoy the outcome like that. You always hear people saying, I've got a great idea for this. And you're like, and,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Well,
Because
I'm
it's the
funny.
people who do it.
I was just saying that to somebody um, the other day that when we started One Kings Lane and the business took off, I cannot even tell you how many people came up to me and said, I had the same idea. And I was like, okay, so what'd you do about it?
Isn't that so funny? But it's like, really? Like, A, why are
Oh,
you
I
saying
should
that
have
to
done
me?
that. Well, I guess you should have, but you didn't, did you?
But it's almost, I feel like when I'm like right now I'm talking about this kind of really big vision with my nonprofit, and I'm just starting it out. I'm talking in this way, and I was talking to someone, they're like, yeah, I was talking about doing the same thing. And I was like, what an odd thing to say.
And
You
people
know
say
what I
it
mean?
all
It's
the time.
but I think yeah, it's something about, I don't know if it's from jealousy or what, that, because it's not a positive energy. It's not beautiful. It's not uplifting,
Yeah.
So I always just kind of, I'm puzzled by that. Like, why did that need to come out of your pie hole? What
Yeah.
good
Well,
was that?
I guess because if somebody did think about it, but they didn't know how to go about doing it, it's probably as frustrating to them if they're like, oh, like you said, like, darn, I had that idea. Why didn't I do that? So it's probably like out of frustration.
Oh, I like that. I like that view, because sometimes for me, it's more like, well, it's not that special. I thought of that too. You know what I mean? Or something like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
no.
equal to you because I already had that thought. I mean, probably before you did.
Oh,
But you know what I mean? I'm like, so?
yeah.
Yeah, it's just so interesting to me, the comments that come out when you
Yeah.
start doing good stuff. And yeah. Did you see friends fall away on your journey? Or have you always had the kind of close knit friends? Or as you kind of grew and evolved?
It was really interesting because it's hard to explain with One King's Lane just how hard and how much we were working, and it was something new, right? So, like for my group of friends, they were like, "What the hell are you? Where are you? Like, what's going on?" And it was hard to explain to people at first. But then we started getting some publicity and, things started happening. And then they're like, oh, I get it.
That's where you were.
I get where you are. You're busy.
And there
I
is
get,
something, yeah, that I've learned recently with myself is in the past, I would just do things, between 9 and 6. But right now, what's inside of me and what's available and what's ramping up and the
Right,
people I'm meeting, it's my whole everything. Like I don't watch TV. I don't, anything because that's my extra time. I can be adding to this or
right.
exploring this or contacting these people. And it becomes, but it's not even like I'm working in a way that's bad or you're a workaholic. It's so exciting. It's like what I put into it is creating more and
Yeah.
more
I
and
mean,
watching it unfold.
it was crazy. I do remember, this is a funny, we was working so hard and I was so energized, like you're talking about. Like I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I'd be wide awake. And I finally just realized I might as well get up and start working, So I had a whole routine and I would always work out in the morning. But I had a friend who was visiting from New York and we went out to dinner with her, Bob and I, the three of us. And I said to them, I said, I am going to, like, I could feel myself falling asleep at the table. I said, I'm going to take like a little nap because I'm falling asleep. And then I woke up and I was like, fine, I was refreshed. But it was like, I mean, we were working so hard and so crazy. And actually, it's funny you asked about the friends because when we sold the company, it was my reconnecting with a lot of my friends and even colleagues that, gave me the idea for Get in the Groove. That's where a lot of that started coming from. But it was
Mm.
when I reconnected because I started talking to women that were, my friends who were 50 plus, and I kept hearing the same kind of not good story from people. Like, I don't feel good, feel invisible, I feel irrelevant. And I was like, whoa, what is like going on here? Because I wasn't feeling that at all.
Me either. But what I loved about it is you heard them.
Oh yeah, I heard him loud and clear. It was loud and clear. And then I was like, wait, who's talking to us? Like where are people like me hanging out, online? Like who's out there that's knows our needs and,
Mm.
sort of understands who we are. And there was like nobody.
And here you go again.
Exactly. So, and then I realized, wow, women 50 plus are this incredible demographic that
Mm.
they're next to millennials. It's like the next largest demographic. It's growing. We have tons of money and we're super consumers. We spend 250% more than any other demographic out there. So I'm like, wow, what is going on here? This is like a huge opportunity. And why are we so underserved?
Mm.
Um, so trying to figure out then what that opportunity for me to address there, because the white space was huge. I mean, it's open
Right.
for lots of different things. But I decided to do what I do best, which is, curate products.
Yeah. So tell me more about Get in the Groove.
Yeah, so it's really a lifestyle destination that is heavily focused on fashion, beauty, a little bit of health and wellness. The health and wellness is mostly around menopause related issues. And we send out an email 3 times a week that are, there's always like a topic. We basically curate whatever the subject is, lots of different fun products. And really my goal is to try to keep people informed and up to date on
Mm.
kind of what's going on out there. Because I think part of what I was hearing from people and what I started to understand is that, around 50, a lot of different things start to happen to women. It's a little bit of the perfect storm. Let's just say it doesn't always happen exactly at 50, but you go through menopause, so you have this major, physical change, which is really can take its toll on you emotionally. A lot of times your kids are leaving, you become an empty nester. And if you're in a relationship, you look at the person sitting across the table from you that you've probably been with for 20 years and you're like, who the hell are you? Do I want to spend the rest of my life with you?
Yeah. Did we just stay together for the kids because they
Yeah,
just
so
left?
there's that whole thing. If you're
Yeah.
working professionally, you're probably at risk of getting aged out. And so I think as you're going through this perfect storm, it's hard to keep up with what's going on in the world. And the world is changing so quickly that by the time things the deck clears, the smoke clears, and you come out of all of these
Mm.
changes that have been happening, you probably don't really understand what's going on. You're not probably up to date, digitally. You probably don't know how to use, certain electronic equipments. You don't understand what people are talking about. You might not understand what certain social platforms, are, how they work. They may seem scary
It's
to you.
it's like literally when someone gets out of jail and
Yeah.
it's been 20 years and they don't have a resume or a computer, or it's kind of like, what is this big ass world?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's not all that different than it's funny when my kids went through puberty. There's a book I read, which I'm blanking on the name now, but the whole premise of it was like your job as a parent is to get your kid through like this tunnel and have them come out safely on the other side, and give them the skill set. It's not all that different, with the menopause and all this other stuff. You're sort of in a tunnel until you can sort of see your way clear. In the meantime, because the world is changing so fast, probably when you went in, it's going to be pretty different when you come out.
Yeah, 100%.
So, really our goal is to try to help inform people, teach them how to do things. We may do videos on how to use certain features on, your phone or on Instagram that might seem really like, yeah, that's easy, but, maybe nobody ever told you and your kids are too annoyed to, take the time to show you how to do it. So really, I think if we can make people feel in the groove and, keep them informed, they won't feel, irrelevant, and they won't feel invisible, and they will be able to participate in the conversation. And like the bigger idea is that hopefully we can change the conversation. And so we can start to change, all the ageism that's going on in the world.
Yeah, I love that so much. It's so nice to create a community for people in need, right? And
Mhm.
that these women feel like they can be a part of the community and learn from it and grow with it and give their input. I just think it's freaking amazing. So with your last company, you were doing like home stuff. And I've seen you a lot in your videos, which I adore, of you strutting out of your closet with a sparkly outfit and then a leather jacket. So now you're working a lot with apparel.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think, um, we do a little bit of home, but mostly it's about fashion and beauty. Because I do think the other thing that happens during this perfect storm is that things change. Your body changes, your skin changes, your hair changes, and so you need new things. You need new routines. It doesn't mean you have to do a lot more. It just made different product, or you wear things a little bit differently. And so we try to help out, on those things as well.
It's I love that. I'm a different bird because my mind, like I've never been in better shape in my whole life, and I've never eaten healthier or had a routine of my spiritual routine and taking care of myself first and filling myself up, like really working from the inside out with everything that I do so I can
Mhm.
show up more. So in my mind, I'm like, I've never been better than I am right now with my knowledge and how kind I am to myself now, and all of that kind of stuff. And I just, I don't know. I think so much of it is mindset. Like I'll be with a friend and she'll go, "Oh my God, I'm so old." And then I'm noticed that she's walking like she's old because her body's reacting to the thoughts she's holding.
Mhm.
And so for me, I'm like, I'm healthy. My cells are all working together in perfect order. I'm so happy. What I put in my mouth lights me up, whether it's a donut or whatever, an enchilada or all healthy food. But I just have such a positive thing that I think it's reflected in my well-being, right? Like I just had my whatever, or I just had shoulder surgery, which is going to be like a 9-month recovery. I can just move this one arm kind of up like a
Wow.
like a T-Rex. But the doctor was like, it looks so great in there. There was nothing, you have a shoulder of a 30-year-old. And I'm like, I have a body of a 30-year-old in my mind. And
Yeah.
therefore my body's reacting that way,
Yeah.
if
Well,
that
you're
makes
probably,
sense.
yeah, no, I think that's true. I think you probably, taking the time to listen to your body, and do
Huge.
the right thing or eat the things that your body likes or needs versus things
And I've
that.
also gotten into this whole world of the mind body because
Mhm.
our thoughts, like whatever we think, our body responds to. It's like a devoted servant to the thoughts we hold. So when we're
That's
stressed
interesting.
out, yeah, when we're stressed out or things are like this or like that, actually it causes dis-ease in our body. Like things aren't settled, they're not calm. Our normal state is kind of calm. But when we're like this, our thoughts are spinning, and you think that we spend like 80,000 thoughts a day, and the majority of them were the same ones we did yesterday, a majority of those are negative. It's like that's what's going on in our body.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing in the world, just
Yeah.
chaos.
Yeah.
So I'm realizing as I quiet this and I get more here, more to my heart, and not this crazy ass roommate who wants to keep me playing small and freaking me out, right? That I'm not good enough, or I'm just like, shut up.
Yeah, go away.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is only love, right? And abundance, and the sky's the limit. So I just think that's a lot of work I do is with people, just their mindset. Like
That's good.
you're in your own prison, which puts your body in its own prison, and it's going to start falling apart because you're thinking it's going to start falling apart. You know? So I think that, what?
Yeah, no, but I think, you think that that's probably true, but there's things you can, that if you don't do, it will happen also, right? Like, I mean, I've seen this really clearly, even with my mother who's 92,
Wow.
if you don't use it, you will lose it. I promise you. And as you get older, it will be much harder to get it back.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I heard you earlier say, even though you got up at 4:30 in the morning before, that you were still working out.
Yeah.
You were still giving that priority.
I
And
had to. It was just too stressful not to have some sort of, physical outlet
yeah.
that I could do. And, that's changed too. I mean, I think that's part of the journey, right? Is that there are things that work for me when I was 50, and there are things that don't, some of those things don't really work as well today when I'm 66. So I've just found different things that,
66?
yeah.
You are a fox.
So
I mean, see, now you just inspired me more. I'm 55, right? So 10 years,
11, but who's counting?
right? I always think over a certain age, we're almost all the same age, but that's not
Yeah,
true. I
no, I
guess
do.
it's,
I think we think like that for
I
sure.
do.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I'll also be talking to a 36-year-old, I'm not kidding, thinking I'm the same age. And
right.
then
Yeah.
and then they'll say, "Oh my gosh, you're my mom's age." And I'm like, "Oh wow, I've forgotten."
Yeah, but I think the thing is that you have to do something. It's just that it probably needs to change over time, to
What do you
be
mean?
that, well, meaning like I did spinning for a really long time. And I don't know, I actually ended up having a stress fracture. I don't know if it was
Yeah.
from that, but I just all of a sudden I felt
Yeah,
like
100%.
that may not be the best thing for me now. So instead I play golf and I walk the course. It's like just finding different things
Perfect.
that work.
100%.
Yeah.
And I also think when we're at a stage like when I was like, I had so much, during my marriage, I did a really super hard class and the
Yeah.
teacher wasn't very nice. And then as I started to heal and started to soften and then I went in there, that was too much, that energy no longer suited where I was. So I found a different class that was a
Yeah.
little more, still high, but a little more nurturing and soft, because I was
Yeah.
a little more nurturing and soft with myself. And it is so good that you hear your body, right? And tweak it. And you're
Totally.
still moving. You're playing a game you love. You're outside.
Totally.
That Dan Buettner, who's done those books about the blue zones.
Oh, I don't. Oh, yeah. What is that?
So he goes around and finds the people, the areas on the planet where they're living the longest, where the
Oh,
majority of
right,
people
right,
are
right,
over 100. And he
right.
talks to them to find out why.
Yeah.
And three things I thought were kind of interesting for me, that three things they all have in common is they all walk outside.
Mm-hmm.
They all drink like one glass of red wine a day. And I think the thing behind that is that they're with people,
Yeah.
They're,
Social. Really
yeah.
important.
And then they all have a little bit of red meat,
Oh, really?
which I thought was really interesting. I thought that would not be included at all, but
Sure
for
wasn't fish. It was red meat.
it was red meat. But what I think about that is what that means is that we can have a little bit of whatever brings us joy in moderation.
Oh, sure. Totally.
Right? Right? Without saying you can't have that or you're not but I just thought those were three interesting things.
Yeah, those are really interesting.
And that
Yeah,
walking
social is a
outside,
big,
yeah.
it's really important. I mean, I can see that again with my mother, but it's really important to have those connections.
What does that mean with your mother?
Oh, just she's in a place, she lives in an independent place where her most favorite thing of the day is going to meals because she's with people. And that's
Yes.
been, really good for her.
With the whole pandemic that's been going on,
Oh,
especially at the
yeah.
beginning when people had to really isolate and people who didn't have a partner or lived alone.
Terrible.
And that's what they used to torture people in war is isolation and prison.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just remember once like an older gal walking down my street and I just said hi to her and I hadn't seen her before and I kind of got closer. We both had our masks on, but I said, "Could I scratch your back?" It came into my head and she was like, "What?" And I just went behind and scratched her back and we stood there for 15 minutes.
Oh
She
my
just had her
God,
eyes
that's
closed
wild.
and she said, "I haven't been touched. I can't even tell you how long it's been since anyone's touched me." And I just had that thing that she's just isolated by herself, this older gal. And I realized like how important touch is and love and that
Totally.
without it, we die.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. It's so true.
And I think it's so cool that what you've created with your community, right? It's even if you're on your computer, whatever, you're still a part of something. You can still
Right.
laugh, you can get information and ask questions. And
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing. My feeling at this point is like if you can't laugh at yourself, then it's like get in the groove is not for you. We try to keep it
exactly.
light and be a little irreverent.
And it is, I think, for our well being to be light and irreverent. It's like everything's going to happen regardless of how you act.
Right.
Why not find a little bit of laughter or joy in it? Or otherwise, it's just too
Right.
heavy,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Especially at this point in life.
100%.
Yeah.
And I love your age and I love my age and I love the freedom we have and the wisdom we have to fully live, right? To take all of our years' experience, all of our lessons, all of our heartache, all of it. We're here and like we're locked and loaded
Yeah.
to be an agent for change in the world.
Love it.
We've done our work. I'm so proud of you.
And you too.
And thank you for being such an inspiration and modeling
Thanks.
awareness and meeting a need. I mean, that's how easy it can be for anyone to become what they've dreamt of.
We're trying.
You're not trying, girl. You're doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on today. You're
Of
such
course.
a treat. And do you want to just tell how people can find you or?
Yeah, of course. So you can sign up for our newsletter at getinthegroove.com or just check out the website. We're on Instagram at Get in the Groove One, same as Facebook. And those are probably the three best things. You can also follow me if you like. I'm on Instagram at Susan K. Feldman, which is different and not, Get in the Groove, but it's just me.
You have to follow her on that because she's so darling with her videos.
Yeah.
And you can follow me.
No, that's on Get in the Groove One.
Oh,
It is.
wait, do
Yeah.
I follow your other one?
I don't know.
Oh, maybe I'm going to follow you
I don't
today.
know. It's not. I haven't been as active on that because I've been focused on Get in the Groove One. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we get in
so
the groove
sign
one
up
is
for
a
the
blast though.
sign up for the newsletter. Check out our Instagram. They're both really fun. They'll make you smile. It's not a big commitment. We keep it light and fast.
It's light and fast and it's uplifting. It's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I mean, we try to keep it fun but informative at the same time.
100%. So you have
Yeah.
purpose and levity.
So come and join us. We would like to invite everybody to come check us out. And if it's not for you, tell your mother.
Yeah. But it's probably for them too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, darling.
Right.
And I look forward to your next in person
Okay. Yeah.
so I can show up as my more evolved self.
Yeah. I love it. Okay.
Just still a little crazy.
Okay. Well, that's you. That's your
I
person.
know it is. It is.
Don't lose that.
I'm not.
Anyway.
Okay.
All
Thank
right,
you
I'll
so
talk
much,
to you-
Susan.
All right. Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.